Hello everybody, welcome to Tree Doctors. We're coming at you from all over Northeast Arkansas this week. In just a moment, we're going to catch up with the head tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey. It's all coming up right now on Tree Doctors.
You know, some trees have insect problems. Some just have construction damage. Well, we can handle them both generally at the same time. I'm using a soil injection here, building a mold of chemicals all around the root ball. It gets translocated into the crown of the tree. It has a very long residual. Stays working for a year or better, killing insects as well as growing new feeder roots and increasing the canopy of the tree. 9 different chemicals is going in this at once. So there's so much we can do that we used to couldn't do, and it's in most cases it's cheaper than it used to be. And just name me just any one thing that's come down in price. Well, taking care of your trees have come down in price. Give us a call. You'll be surprised. We're the Tree Doctor, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees.
Let's go catch up with the head tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, right now on Tree Doctors.
As always, we welcome your tips on Tree Doctors, and you can either email it to us or call it in at the office and pass it on. But this one is from Danny Mosley in Gosnell, Arkansas. Danny claims that when he empties his aquarium, he's got fish, that he always puts the fish water around his new trees. And his trees are just growing and just growing very well. So that's really a good recycle idea right there anyway. Use that used aquarium water, and it's rich, I'm sure, in micronutrients and vitamins and all that from the fish. So he just pours it around all his new little trees, and his yard is just growing and his trees are doing good. So I want to thank Danny for sending that tip in, and if you got a tip, send it in to us. We might use it. I'm here in Jonesboro, and here with me is Hank Germer. And Hank, why don't you tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here, this fountain you have?
Well, this is our fish pond, and we have some koi and some goldfish in there, and it was reconstructed a couple of years ago.
Yes, sir. Your wife Nancy was up there like she was trying to feed them earlier, and you could just see you got a world of fish in there, don't you?
Yes, we do. We feed them every day in the summertime. In the wintertime, they don't eat, so it's easy then.
Oh, yes, sir. And I kind of recognized you when y'all had called me about working on your trees, and you was on TV for a few years in TV commercials, weren't you?
Yes, sir. The Wallace and Owens show.
Right. Was you on with Dolph Riggs?
Yes, I did a few with Dolph in Riggs commercials.
Right, yeah, Riggs Supply, and I do Dolph's trees too, by the way.
Do you? Good.
Yeah, but I knew I recognized you from somewhere, and your wife Nancy was telling me about that. You still do commercials?
No, that's pretty well a thing of the past. Too old for that, I guess.
Oh, I don't think you ever get too old. I tell you what, this yard though, your wife showed John and I this those beautiful trees in this yard. You have got your work cut out for you. Keep it up, don't you?
I sure do. It's can't keep up almost, you know.
Oh, but it's a loving job. You can tell you enjoy it, and I know she does too. It's just a gorgeous yard.
Yes, thank you.
And an old yard. She had told me a little about the history of it, and it's the old home, old yard, and old trees.
Yes, we had a gentleman took his metal detector out here and was looking around the yard trying to find pieces. I don't think he found anything interesting though.
I had a guy tell me one time that he was an older gentleman. He said back years ago when they lost a quarter, they'd spend 3 weeks trying to find it.
They must have found them all because they had nothing out there except junk.
Right. But that made sense. Money, you know, back then they worked for 50 cents a day or something. If you lost a quarter, you're going to hunt it up, aren't you?
That's right. You sure will.
Yes, sir. Well, Hank, I appreciate you telling us about the fountain and talking to us on camera about your trees.
Well, we appreciate you helping us out with our trees.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm here with Nancy Germer, and we're standing in front of a, why don't you tell the viewers what kind of tree we got here?
Well, it's a tulip tree, but you had a more proper name for it. What did you call it?
It's a tulip magnolia.
Tulip magnolia, and it blooms 2 to 3 times a year. We get these beautiful purple blooms on it that we can see from the house.
Yes, ma'am, and it just sits off the yard, and along with that waterfall, it's just, listening to that waterfall, seeing these pretty flowers, it just, this old property, and how old did you say the property was?
Well, the house was built in 1903 by E.C. Barton of E.C. Barton of Barton Lumber Company. So it's old downtown Jonesboro. It is. And as far as the pond and the waterfalls go, that was put in by Mr. Bennett of Bennett's Nursery, and we really do enjoy it. It's very soothing to go watch the fish and feed the fish, and we enjoy that pond a lot.
Oh, I bet you do. It just has to be a very copacetic type of atmosphere.
It is. It is. We love it. We love it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thanks for telling the viewers about this tree.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm here on one of the many walkways at the Hardin University, and I noticed these bricks have been fixed with the people's names on them, and Johnny Ferguson, the ground director, told me that a lot of people would make a donation. They'd buy a brick and it gets put in this walkway, and that's one of the ways they help expand their university and keep it going, and I think that's a neat idea. Plus that they can come back years and years and see their names, or it might be in memory of someone or whatever. It is a real neat idea. I come across this same idea over in Steele, Missouri with Bill Lewis on a walkway there. It was concrete, it wasn't bricks. Kind of same idea though, but that's a neat way for schools and universities to raise some additional funds when they need it, and has a lasting effect. Thought you might want to see that. We're in the backyard with Gene Strasser, and Gene, why don't you tell the viewers about what kind of tree this is we're standing in front of?
Well, some friends of ours told us it's a monkey puzzle tree because the limbs are all down, and the reason they call it that is the monkeys can't climb up the tree.
Well, I hadn't seen a monkey on it all the time I've been here, so I know that's got to be so. But sure enough, that's the name of it, huh?
That's what we heard. I don't know. There's several trees around here that we don't know the names of.
Well, they hybridize so many of these now, and I don't pretend to know the names of all of them either. That's why I keep books with me. Well, I try to figure out sometime. But I had to ask you the name of that one because it's growed so strangely.
That's right. All the limbs going down instead of up.
Yes, ma'am, and the one around front is equally as different, and we might get a shot of that too and show it. But say the name of it again.
Monkey puzzle tree.
Monkey puzzle tree. That's a new one on me. Well, thank you, Gene, for telling the viewers what we got here.
You're welcome.
I want to tell you a little bit about lights for your trees and your shrubs. There's a lot of the solar lights out there now, and they work good too, but the continuous lights on a timer that showcase the plant, they're just wonderful to get them in the yard, especially if you keep them putting on the tree. But when you do put them on the tree, if they're put on there correctly, there's nothing wrong with that either. So just be sure when you get somebody to do it that they're reputable enough to know how to do that, so it don't cause you problems 3 or 4 years down the road. But there's nothing wrong with lights to showcase what you have and let you see around your property at night, whether it's on a switch or on a timer or solar, either one. I think it'll work great for you. I like outside lights. I'm here in Rector at the park, and Leland Blackshear is with me. And Leland, how many different types of trees do you have here?
Ed, that's hard to say exactly, but I would say around 15.
Yes, sir. That's a good many trees. I noticed also you've got a lot of people hate the gum trees called the gum balls. Now he's got a black gum over here. A lot of people know it as a sire gum, a beautiful shade tree. It doesn't have the balls. You was aware of that, wasn't you?
Yes, and it is a beautiful tree.
Makes a great shade tree. So people call the office all the time wanting us to get rid of those balls. But if you're going to plant a gum, try a black gum or a sire gum. You won't have them old balls in a few years. But you've got, in addition to your oaks, why don't you name a few of the different varieties you got?
Well, we have cypress, maple, and ash, which you've just treated. And
Just ash right here.
yeah, and we have some fruit-bearing trees for the squirrels out here. We have some walnut trees.
A few sycamore.
Yeah, we have 3 sycamores, and I think you just treated one of those today. And the maple trees, there's a variety of maple. No two are alike.
A variety of oaks also, Leland, aren't they?
Big variety of oaks.
And we mentioned about the balls on the sweet gum. He does have a few of the regular sweet gum.
Well, there's not as many out here as we once were because of disease and straight line winds.
That's right. And a little bit of lightning here and there.
That's right. We have about 160 trees in this complex. And at present, about 50 of those have been reforestation trees have been put in since December of 1997.
On how many acres is that, Leland?
Ed, I don't know exactly how many acres it is.
Probably 5 or 6 if I was guessing.
Oh, it's more than that.
I'm talking about where the trees sit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, at least. Where their largest concentration is, I'd say it'd be a good 6 acres.
Right. Now, y'all also encompass the new baseball park y'all put in, is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have our ball complex back there on to the south of the park. And when we have tournaments out there, softball tournaments, and every June, this place is packed with people. Some of them bring their campers and stay overnight.
Oh, that's neat.
We have RV hookups and at a very reasonable rate. And we welcome anyone to come to Rector Memorial Park.
You're kidding. You got RV hook. I didn't know that. All these years I've been.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Well, we do.
Well, that's good to know. You can come over here and just set a spell, as they say on the hillbillies.
As a matter of fact, when this walking trail was put in, we had the area paved over there for the RVs and put in new frost-free hydrants.
Right.
And the sewer and the water, everything is spick and span.
Who would the people call to check out whether they had a space available or whether it's crowded or?
The subway, Exxon Subway in Rector.
Exxon Subway in Rector, and just asked about the RV parking at the park.
Exactly.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know about the overnight parking. That's going to appeal to a lot of people, I believe.
Well, I hope so. The more people to enjoy this park, the better.
There you go. Well, thank you, Leland.
Well, thank you, Ed Dickey.
This oak tree was damaged several years ago, and I've been taking care of it all about 7 or 8 years. And the homeowner, at the time he called me, was wondering whether it was need to be filled or needed to be cut down, was a hazard. And after checking the tree, it's stable enough. And the only thing is I instructed him to keep this painted periodically, not with like I normally tell you, the camouflage paint. This here needs a little stronger thing, a wound dressing. And all you do is just touch it up periodically. More of a cosmetic thing than anything else, but it also deters the insects, minor insects, and your old ants from getting in there and making a mess. It just takes just a little while to straighten it up and make it look good. And you do that, and the tree will gradually take several years to close itself in. It's got enough of a strong structure in here. I didn't recommend filling this one because it still has a holding structure there. So if you have a tree something like this, if you just keep it painted and sprayed periodically and keep your insects down, your tree will do well. We moved around here in the yard here with Cheryl Strasser, and Cheryl, why don't you tell the viewers about you was with the Jonesboro City Council for a while, weren't you?
I was on the city council for 8 years, and during that period of time I was chairman of the finance committee, and Mr. Brodell and I did a lot of work for the city.
Yes, sir. And what years was that, the early 80s?
84 to 92.
Yes, sir. And we're back here in your backyard, and you have really got some fine trees scattered across this property that we talked about earlier the other owner had put out, and you're doing a fine job putting in some more, aren't you?
I'm putting a few in. I'm taking out a few pines and putting in some others.
Yes, sir. And some of these older trees, like this, like the magnolias and like the maple, you're just planting new ones. So if they fail or something,
I believe this one's going to fail one of these days.
Oh, well, you can bet on it. The maple's not a real long life tree.
It's not a long life tree, and it breaks up a lot in the storm. So when these willow oaks get about 40 feet tall, that one's going to go.
Yes, sir. Now, the old magnolias, they'll be with us when we're gone, won't they?
Probably so.
Yes,
probably so. I took your advice the other day and threw about 50 pounds of fertilizer on that. So maybe that'll really kick it off.
Well, it'll help. You know, people forget magnolias change their leaves twice a year. So you can it gives you a little leadway when to fertilize. You don't have to wait till it's dormant.
That's right.
And so if you use water you got to remember fertilizer is a salt, but if you use water behind it or you get a good rain to set it, then that fertilizer is going to do some good in it.
Right, right. I've got a sprinkler system I can turn on.
That is super. Well, I don't have to tell you about fertilizer. You showed me all them tomatoes. You know what you're doing.
Well, a little bit.
Yes, sir. Well, I tell you, have you got any tips you want to pass on to the viewers about your tomato growing or your tree growing, either one?
No, not really. It's something I like to do. I've been doing this for everywhere I've lived, from Cape Girardeau to Illinois to here in Jonesboro. I always plant trees. I plant trees every year.
Well, good for you. People need to do more of that. How long was you in Cape Girardeau, Missouri?
2 years. Off and on, off and on. I worked for a utility company up there years ago, and then I worked for a CPA firm up there back in the 60s.
So you've been a bean counter for a long time.
I've been a bean counter for a long time.
Yes,
To
sir.
do that kind of work, you got to have some alternate way of getting, you know, something different. And gardening is something different.
Mr. Strasser, I appreciate you taking the time to tell our viewers about your wonderful garden and your trees. And if you'll let me, we'll stop back in here in a year or two and look at some of these trees you planted.
Fine. That'll be fine.
And just see how big they grow, because we photographed a bunch of them while we was here.
Okay, that'd
And-
be good.
And I might get another mess of tomatoes when I
You
come.
might very well, if I'm still kicking.
Well, you're going to be kicking. All right. Thanks again.
All right, you're welcome.
We're here at the Jonesboro Country Club, and in the summer of 2001, a storm come through here and broke up this big tree behind me. The people here at the Country Club contacted me, and one of the golfers here wanted to save the old tree if he could, and they had me put the bracing rods in it. And I told them at the time that, you know, we'll get a few more years out of it. And here it is several years later, and I wanted you to see the tree. So if you know, got a special tree you want to save, sometime you can go to the extra mile to give it a little more help and make that tree hang on. And if the Country Club would just prune on this a little bit here in the upcoming year or two, they're going to get another few years out of this tree. Also, while I was here, they had me put a lightning arrestor in the tree next to it, and we'll move over and talk about that in a minute. In 2001, when we put this lightning arrestor in, and we also put the bracing rods in that tree close by, the Country Club wanted to protect these large old trees from lightning, especially since we had the hardware up high in that tree. This one was high on their priority list to get took care of. And the rod's still intact, and I checked it, and it's still grounded right, and so it's still doing its thing. So generally when you put them in, they're no maintenance. You got them in there, and you just feel better when it's storming. I got one at my office, and I feel good when it's storming there too. So it's a good idea to protect our old trees, and just makes you feel good. I'm still here on the University of Hardin in Searcy, and Johnny Ferguson, you told me you'd planted these trees here behind you. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We planted them probably 18 years ago, and they've really done well. And I'm proud to have history of having helped plant them and see how they've really grown and look good.
Well, sure. The theme of our show is a family tree, and these definitely are your family tree. How little were these when you put them in, John?
Oh, they was probably an inch or inch and a half in diameter.
Yeah. So they've really grown well. Then you say 18 years ago, that whole line of trees.
Yes, sir.
Well, you got others, I'm sure, here on the campus too besides that, but when you get a row of them like this, it's easy when you're walking down there to remember what you was doing 18 years before, don't it?
Right. We've also, we pride ourselves in planting a lot of dogwoods and azaleas, and that's one of the beauties we have in the spring is a real good looking dogwoods blooming and real pretty azaleas, a lot of them. And it's two different kinds of dogwoods we have here, the regular ones that blooms and then puts the leaves on, and then we have Coosa dogwood that puts the leaves on and then blooms after that, and it just makes it, you know, a little bit different. And we got some of them that kind of spices the place up.
Oh, that is super. And I'd like to tell people, if they're not familiar with the Hardin University here in the middle of Searcy, they can come down anytime and walk over to campus, can't they, Johnny?
They sure can. We enjoy visitors coming in and show them around.
Well, that is super. and we're going to move around here and talk about some of these other beautiful trees on the campus, Johnny.
Okay.
Johnny, why don't you tell us about this tree that's behind us a little bit?
Well, it's been here a long time before I came here, and I've been here 20 years, and everybody kind of makes a joke out of it, call it the pregnant tree, and that's a good, you know, if they can't think of the bell tower, they say, well, go over there by the pregnant tree. So it's got its name.
It definitely has a swell on it. It sure does. It's a large oak tree, and I talked a little bit about Danny about it earlier, but once you told me what the students had nicknamed it, I figured that was worth mentioning on camera. It's just a unique tree, isn't it, Johnny?
That's right. I've never seen one with that bigger burr on it.
Right, yeah, it's called a burl, and this whole campus is just filled with old trees and a lot of history if people get a chance to come down here and look at it. And every day it's your grounds people is busy just to keep it looking that way, aren't they, Johnny?
That's right. We have something to do every day. Every day we're here. More than we can get done.
Yes, sir. And like I was telling Danny earlier, I'd love to come back here for long after you get your little bit of trimming done, these contractors get done, and we'll walk over to campus again and talk a little bit more with you if you'll let us.
That'll be fine. We appreciate you taking the time to do this because we need to let a lot more light in here and get where the grass grow and look better.
Right. What Johnny's talking about, they had hired me to write the specs for the trimmers to come in here so they wouldn't damage the trees, but keep them looking good, but just take out what needs to be took out and leaving them a lasting beauty like they are. Is that correct, Johnny?
That's right. We really need lots more light in here because can't get the grass to grow good because it's not enough light. And plus we need to get some dead cut out and some splits in some of the trees because it's dangerous.
Right, yeah, we rode up taking out all the hazards and the dead, but when we come back on campus we'll show all of that, and even without that getting done, it's a beautiful campus, Johnny, and I know it's going to be even more prettier after it gets done. I appreciate you taking time to talk about it.
Thank you.
This is a extremely big hickory in very good shape too, but what makes it odd is when this tree was set out 95 years ago that it got broke over and it lost its graft. It was a pecan tree. Most people aren't aware that a good pecan tree is grafted on rootstock, and 99% of the time it's a hickory tree that the rootstock is. So it got knocked over and they lost their graft, and the hickory continued growing from the stump. That's the reason I know this. The people told me, and it's right in the middle of a pecan grove too, so it's kind of easy to figure, you know. But it went on to be what it was set out to be, a hickory. I'm here in Searcy, and here with me is Bob Clark, and Bob was discussing a moment ago about mulch. Tell the viewers a little bit of your experience about the mulch around your plants.
The mulch I had was in my former house, and I just bought this wood chip mulch from Freebie Place here in town, and we put it around, and I would guess within 6 months I found about pretty good bit of damage around my house in a room, just one particular room, but they had already done quite a bit of damage, so we had to go in there and replace a bay window and the sheetrock and of course a few other things. So, but I think really it was because of that wood mulch.
Right, after that happened, did you take that wood mulch up that you had there closed?
Yes, I did. I took it up and I put in some new mulch, and what I used the next time was pine needles.
Okay, that's good, and it don't draw the termites like the other.
I don't guess it does, because I had always used pine needles that I had just raked up out of the yard and put around the house, and always had plenty of pine needles, but I just decided I liked the looks of that mulch, the wood mulch, and decided to try some of it, and it was really a mistake.
All right. My producer John told me, just reminded me that his contract with his exterminator said if you put wood mulch within 2 foot of the house, it voids the contract. So people need to really kind of look at what they're doing when they're putting that mulch down, don't they?
Yes, I'm sure you do. I didn't read my contract, and I don't know that it said that. It may have, but at the time I was kind of in between contracts. I had one company who will remain unnamed, and we had a little dispute, and before I had a chance to renew a new contract, then that's when I had discovered the termites in the house. So I had to build a foot for myself.
Right. Well, my advice to the viewers is if you put mulch, try to put cedar, redwood, or any kind of, or cypress is really good mulch. Something that won't draw the insects, but if you do draw the insects, try to add you some other kind of insecticide or something, don't you think?
Yes, I do. I sure do.
Well, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
I'm here with Hank and Nancy Germer, and John was noticing this little cross underneath this bush, and won't you tell our viewers, Nancy, what's going on with that cross?
Well, beneath that cross is the peaceful grave of a cat. This cat belonged to our son. Our son lives in Chicago, and he didn't want the cat buried in Chicago when the cat died unexpectedly. He wanted it to have a nice, lovely area to be buried in. So he froze the cat immediately after it died, and then he called us and had his dad dig the grave, and he shipped it overnight. It got here within 24 hours, still frozen, with its little blanket and its little dish. And it came to the front door, and Hank had the grave dug, and he had it in the ground 30 minutes after it got here. So it has a nice little grave.
That's fast service. That's faster than most funeral homes, isn't it, Hank?
Yes, sir, it sure is. And he shipped it down here in insulated, so it didn't thaw out. And it was
He had a styrofoam.
Yeah, it was solid when it got here.
Yes, sir. Well, so when he comes home, he does feel...
He feels really good about this peaceful backyard and the peaceful place where his favorite cat is buried.
Well, I bet with the history of this home, it's over 103 years old, there is a lot of underground history here that we don't know about anyway.
Who knows what kind of bones are back here?
That's right, that's right. Well, we're not digging up bones tonight. We're taking care of trees, but we appreciate you taking care of, telling our viewers, I should say, about, and taking care of the cat, but telling about the cat.
Well, thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
You know, great strides have been made in the chemical community as the technology come available now where you don't need to clumber some capsules to tree, and we can put actually 9 or 10 different products at one time in a tree. You can see it boiling out from around the base of that as I'm injecting this into the soil ball. Amino acids, different miticides, insecticides. We can choose what we want to treat for, and we get a long residual from this. So you get a year's worth of good, or longer, out of our injection when we do a tree. An actual molt of chemicals put around your tree, and it's all moisture activated. So as the weather hits it, or the rain, it supercharges it again and carries through the tree. So to get rid of your unwanted insects, or to revive a tree to put new life in it, you know, that's what we do. We put the zap back in the sap. We give new life to old trees. That's what we do. We're the tree doctors. Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for Tree Doctors today. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you need to get a hold of Dickey Tree Service, it's simple. You can call the number below, or you can go to dickeytree.com. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on Tree Doctors.